Hi everyone. Today we're sitting down with Domenic from the Down Syndrome Foundation. He is a father to Joseph, a passionate advocate, proud parent, and founder of a foundation that is making waves in the developmental services world. With 20 years of experience and a heart full of purpose, Domenic shares his journey, the spark that lit his advocacy, and how his foundation is helping families thrive, from early diagnosis to skilled trades training and beyond. We'll be talking belonging, bold ideas, and building futures. Let's dive in. Everyone, and thanks for joining us today. Really pleased to be in a conversation this afternoon with Domenic Gentilini. So great to see you, Domenic. Welcome to Community Chats.
Brad, thanks for having me. Really happy to be here today.
Great, great. Well, you're here from the Down Syndrome Foundation, and you're going to tell us about a bunch of stuff that's really interesting and some really impactful work that you're doing. But maybe just for people that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Domenic Gentilini, and I'm the founder of the Down Syndrome Foundation. I've been involved in the community for over 15 years. And thanks solely in part to my son, Joseph, that is now 20, and graced my world and our world with happiness and I'll say, a little bit of trauma and all of the other
Yeah,
emotional experiences that any parent experiences. But I think those with a developmental or neurological ability
yeah.
does add a certain heightened sense of, concern. And
Mhm.
so it was that motivated the love that I have for him to, not only get him in and get him into life and get him going, but at the same time was a positive reminder to see if I can share and help others that were in the
Yeah.
same space.
Great. So maybe talk about Joseph. So you talked about that being a difficult time, or I think you used the word a bit of trauma at
Yeah.
the beginning. Talk about that when Joseph was born.
Yeah, so he was born C-section,
Hmm.
but actually came out not breathing.
Oh
And
no.
so in that, it was probably the most traumatic experience I've had in my life. And I've had loss in my life, but it was having my son put into my hands and looking down, going, is he supposed to be purple? And from
Uh,
there, they quickly whipped him away and did the magic down at Women's College Hospital that they do. So it
what
was
was he born at Women's College or was he transported there?
no, he was born there.
Okay. Good
Yeah,
that you were close to such an excellent facility right off the
correct.
bat. Yeah.
The doctors and nurses, in particular in the NIC unit, were again life changing. Right?
Yeah,
They
my own I had a somewhat similar experience with my own son who was born in Etobicoke General, but was born with something called wet lung. So it basically meant it was very hard for him to breathe. So what to your point around holding your child and this doesn't seem right, and the same thing, we're sort of like gasping for breath, and then immediately people coming in, and he spent about 9 days in a NICU after he was born. So it really, I mean, your whole focus is there, but it's a difficult, almost traumatic time.
Yeah, and he is our was our first and our only
Hmm.
child,
Okay.
coincidentally, and so I mean he was right. Everything as bred for you as well was everything of life, right? Everything of
Right.
things that one had envisioned and all of these pieces, and to see that he was in a challenging state at that point, um, yeah, was definitely traumatic. But I think subtly it also motivated me to a
Hmm.
certain degree to want to give back. And I've been a generous person in helping community efforts and doing different things, right? Whether it's breakfast clubs with a company I worked for or others,
Right.
you want to give back, and I'm that type of person, but this truly hit home for me.
Yeah. So he spent some time in the hospital, and then came home. And what was his journey like as a child growing up and going to school? What were the experiences like there?
So shenanigans all over the place for
I,
sure, right? I think every parent could attest to that. But I mean, it was learning to understand his needs.
right.
He came home and synonymous with a lot of individuals with Down syndrome, they have low muscle tone. So it was, propping his head and helping him
Right.
stand, and some of the walkers that he used in the beginning stages, but it was his laughter, it was
Oh,
just
nice.
his open eyes, right? And his real appetite for chocolate milk. I mean, we all love chocolate, and I am one to attest on it, but I want to say that is his MO. He is nothing but chocolate milk till
Even
today.
still, even
Oh
still.
yeah, yeah. You can give him whichever item you want, and he will
From the
always go for
first sip as a young child right up till now, it's been a theme, eh? That's
it's like
fantastic.
our coffee, yes, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Although I didn't start drinking coffee until I was in my 20s, he's got me beat by, he
Oh no,
started off
that
early.
for
That's
me
good.
was a little bit of a, yeah. I grew up in an Italian family, so espresso and other pieces were definitely there.
Nice.
Um, it was great. I mean, we looked at, and he enjoyed the environment around him. Was always very curious about things. Still is.
Hmm.
And it was like anything, right? You just try to adapt what you think was the way to kind of raise your child,
Yeah.
and really listen to what he was asking for and what he was
Yeah.
looking for. And so that translated into, the help that I was doing in the community as well, because we were going to these events, right? And
Yeah, so
really,
what kind of events? So what part of the city did you grow up in Toronto? Were you in Toronto at the time?
yeah, I lived north of Toronto, and
Okay.
he grew up here. Family lived here. We're
Okay.
just north of Canada's Wonderland.
Okay, so and then you're learning about Down syndrome and you're connecting with, I assume, some community organizations and with some schools and
Correct.
childcare. What was your experience like? What was your experiences like there?
So, not as easy to find stuff right off the
Okay.
bat. I want to say, within the school system and early intervention, those items came somewhat easy to us
Hmm.
through our physician and through kind of some of the checkups. As Joseph was going through some daycare as well, that was a little bit challenging at the time. And again, we're talking about, 20 years
Yeah.
ago, but
It still
difficult.
can be. It still can be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, reality is yes.
Yeah.
But no, we were able to find some places that would work with, right, some of the extra abilities that were required. Um, but it wasn't always front and center and easily accessible. It
Right.
was one of those things that between networking with families and physicians and kind of doing the search online, I think that resonated with me on some of the things that we've built with the foundation
Right.
thereafter.
This could be easier for others.
It can be, right? And it was one of those, you didn't always want it to be, well, if Sally said go here, right?
Right. Right.
Though those referrals were very helpful.
Okay. So now you talked about being very involved in helping in your community and volunteering and sort of having a generous spirit around this stuff or around a number of issues. But with Down syndrome and with your connection with your son Joseph, you took that to an extra level and founded the Down Syndrome Foundation. And I gather that's the logo on your shirt. So
It
maybe tell us a little bit about the foundation and what motivated that, and explain that I got to get one of those shirts. They look, that's quite the logo.
so great story behind this logo, but yes, so I've worked and volunteered both at a local and a provincial level over the years. And like anything, right, you volunteer, you put the efforts in, you try to make, changes and really bring awareness in some cases, but really change in other cases. And so, things like a world dance party during the pandemic, and
Right.
you know, uh, other real fun events. We were able to successfully get Ontario Down Syndrome Day recognized with the provincial government. And so
Hmm.
these were all things that built up to wanting to do more. And so this is how the foundation came.
Remind us when World Down or when Down Syndrome Day is, just so we're
Oh, wonderful. Yes.
put it in
So
the schedule.
it is March 21st,
All right.
and it is synonymous with Down syndrome for the reason of an individual with Down syndrome has a third copy of their 21st chromosome.
Right.
So
Right.
March being the third month and 21 being the day.
Excellent. Easy to
It's
remember.
easy, yes. Everything hence is 321.
Yeah.
But the logo itself was a collaboration between our team and kind of how do we keep things simple? And the idea has always been to keep it as simple and as focused. And so because we are a Canadian organization nationally, and the what you can see in the middle here is actually a copy of the 21st chromosome,
Okay.
which just really embodies the fact of bringing in individuals with Down syndrome into society, bringing them
Mm,
inclusive and kind of really covering and sharing them right across the country.
great. Great.
Yeah.
So now the foundation, when did the foundation begin?
So the foundation's been in play now, coming on 4 years.
Okay.
It was a accumulation between myself and a few others, and the idea was to bring programming, really bridge existing resources
Hmm.
to the Down syndrome community, whether it came through adaptation or subsidies. And so
Okay.
we've always maintained the philosophy that it's, the fulfillment of life for individuals is knowing that there's a resource or a service out there. The services are out there. It's not that we're reinventing a new wheel here. It
Right.
was just being able to network and bridge those resources to the available communities and families out there. And so
Hmm.
that's really what the root of what the foundation does is collaborates, partners, builds relationships, in a lot of cases, even alliances with whether it is within Down syndrome or any other intellectual or developmental disability.
Right.
We're all in the community. We all
Right.
live in Ontario and
Yeah.
Canada, right? And so let's leverage the strengths that we have so that that family that's sitting at home with a child that is, low muscle tone and doesn't know where to
Right.
look next
Right.
can easily find, the services that are already available.
That's fantastic. Now you started the foundation yourself with a
Right.
group of people, I'm assuming, that were very committed to getting it launched. How are you funding yourself? What are the things you do to generate revenue, and then what are some of the things that you do around outreach and connecting with others?
Well, we're no different than any other charity, and in troubling times, right? But the idea is that we do fundraise, and we look for donations, both private and corporate donations, as much as
Hmm.
possible.
Hmm.
So all of our websites have an ability for your listeners and the listeners here to support us. We're putting those dollars towards new projects and activities, like some of the things we'll talk about. Some of the other funding models do come from grants and both provincial or, sorry, government and corporate ones, but it's becoming tougher, right?
Right.
And we're not oblivious to the fact that times are tough out there for
Yeah.
all families, right? So it's not the easiest ask to have, but at the same time, what we're trying to do is really show, because of my business background, a return on investment is,
Right.
your $20 donation is actually going to this, right?
Right.
You can actually see it and feel it and
See
touch
the
it
impact, see what's happening, and people, yeah,
versus it
connecting that
just,
line of sight for people as to where their money is going and how it's benefiting.
of course.
Great.
Yes.
Now you've launched, and maybe you can tell the story of how you got into this sort of idea of developing a skills development training program that really focuses on the trades and skilled trades in particular. So was Joseph the inspiration, the motivation for this, or what brought you to develop this program?
It was definitely a combination of the two. I'd be, lying to you otherwise, right? It is, most children that go through the school system can stay in school till about age 21, right?
Hmm.
Based on the parents' comfort level.
Right.
But it's after that there's a drop off.
Right.
There's either day programming, there is some employment opportunities, but not enough that most families end up going, okay, how do I care for my son or daughter moving forward? And so the inspiration was, there are hospitality opportunities out there,
Hmm.
limited, but out there. And so no one had really focused on the true skilled trades.
Right.
Right. And it's not just the core ones that we all think of when we think of construction or a plumber or, a HVAC person or a mechanic, right? But Ontario has 144 skilled trades.
Do they really?
They do.
Or do we really? I
We
guess isn't
do.
that wow, okay.
So, and of that number, there is a probably half of them that are considered a red seal, which is just an
Okay.
even higher certification.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the idea was, again, the resource is there, the community goes there. It is, a movement of nationally speaking. So let's try and
Mhm.
position something in that space that is not really front and center. And I don't want to say different, but an evolution of the good work other organizations are
Right.
doing out there. And so that's how this skills development, building our future training
Hmm.
program came about.
Okay. And how long have you been operating now?
So we've been operating. The classes started in
Yeah.
October 1st. We are running two cohorts, so two
Hmm.
different classes. And the idea is that these individuals will go through this training program and learn a number of tasks within the trade itself. So we take
Okay.
the
Are
existing.
there sorry, are there certain
Yeah.
trades that you're focusing on to start with, or is it just sort of a general introduction to trades overall?
Great question. So we're focusing on a general carpenter or a construction craft worker,
Okay.
but the subtlety or kind of the root to it is the general laborer, which is a category under it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the objective is not to have a true, fully certified
Right.
individual come out based on their abilities, but the idea is that there are really good traits and tasks within that program or within that
Right.
trade that are actually transferable to a number of trades and a
Right.
number of what is identified. So working in a grocery store or working in a factory or working, in a landscaping place, a horticultural, like a kitchen. And so the skills that we're putting into play are some of the foundational or basic skills that
Right.
trade has to do. Keeping a clean workplace, right? All of these things. So
Hmm.
we give them the practical skills to it. We also give them on-site visual. So yes, it's under construction, but it is a transferable skill set that will also help them at home, right? A lot of parents are always, can you clean up your room? Can you put away your stuff? Help me sweep. Like, I mean,
I
we all
don't
know that,
I
right?
don't know that that has anything to do with disability or it's just a parent kid thing. I don't know. So, but that's it's good to have skills that are transferable across different settings. Now, you talked about different environments. So, hospitality being one and construction sites and that. So would the idea be just so I'm clear, if you're training to be sort of a carpenter, I forget the word you use, carpenter helper, assistant carpenter,
General labor, yeah.
general labor. So you'd make somebody familiar with, yes, you've got to be on time, you've got to wear your safety equipment, there are certain protocols you've got to follow in any job site, but then you're also comfortable going into a job site knowing, what to avoid, knowing who does what. And if a carpenter needed help doing something or somebody that's pouring concrete, you'd be able to understand what, maybe help out in some of those areas. That is that the thinking?
That is the thing. I can, I relate it back to my childhood as well,
Right.
which is I was the oldest boy and the only son in my family. And I was my
Right.
dad's second set of hands, right?
Right.
So it was a supported coworker of whatever we were doing was go get me this tool, go get me this, clean up this space. I'm moving to the next one. This is no different. This is
Take the nails out of that board, clean up that pile of stuff, and put it in the bin.
or
That those
organize.
kind.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So they are learning a lot of these very, we call them basic skills, but they're
Mhm.
foundational to any job site. And in
Right, right.
particular around the safety side of it, leaving a box of nails out and about or screws out and about, you'd have the safety board all over that job site. So
Yeah.
the idea is that they become that extra set of hands. For them it's fulfillment because they're like, I wake up in the morning, I put on my hard hat, I put on my boots, right, and going into a construction environment, and with a cohort of others they would go and have a supervisor that
Hmm.
helps translate kind of the tasks at hand from the project or site supervisor, and off they
Great.
go, right? So they're happy to be doing the work, and we can see through the classes, they are ridiculously excited to be there every morning. They're tired at the
Hmm.
end of the day,
Yeah.
but they're really happy to be there in the morning.
Great. So you started in October,
Correct?
and you're underway. You've got your first cohort. How big's or its first two cohorts? How big are the classes at this point? What's the
So
interest been like?
so the interest has actually been fairly decent. I think there's been a
Good.
little bit of hesitation on understanding its details, but
Right.
the applications have continued to come in. So
Good.
we're looking at classes of 12 students. So
Hmm.
it's manageable, and in that is three cohorts, three smaller cohorts of four, so that they
Okay.
can work both on group projects but also individually.
Great.
The second classes start in January.
Okay.
And so we're running simultaneously research behind all of this as well, which is
Oh,
very
excellent.
key.
It's often
Yes,
overlooked, eh? The idea of getting what's the results? What's the impact?
correct. And so that it becomes really a lot of action-oriented research. So we're dynamic throughout the day. We have researchers that do all of the kind of the reviewing on site
Hmm.
and are documenting everything as it goes. On a weekly basis, our team then comes back and goes, okay, this worked, this didn't, here's this piece. So this
Right.
action research is really possible with the support, but it also is helping evolve kind of the lesson plans and really what adaptation of the existing curriculum that an apprentice would go through.
Hmm. Hmm.
What do we need to do differently? Again, not just for individuals with Down syndrome, but within the greater IDD
Okay.
community.
So you've got a second, or I guess third cohort, third and fourth starting in January.
Yeah,
Are there openings?
there are.
So you're
Yes,
accepting applications.
we
If
are.
people are interested, what's the pathway to getting accepted into the program?
Yes. So the
And
first
where
thing,
is it? I didn't ask you, like, where's the physical location of the training happening?
yeah. So great. So I'll answer backwards.
Sure, yeah,
The
sorry. It's my favorite
it
thing to do
is.
is ask three questions at the same time and then just
Yeah,
throw it.
no, this is good. I like this. So our training facility is at Keelan 401. It
Okay.
is right off of a major highway.
Hmm.
We have a meet point, or what we like to call our social club, for
Yep.
those that would like to come in via bus. So
Yep.
that is actually at Pine Valley and Steeles, which is just south of the 407. So we're
Yep.
kind of off the two major highways, and
Hmm.
we bus everyone down in the morning. The classes run from 10 to 2,
Okay.
Monday to Friday.
Yep.
And again, before and after care programs at our Woodbridge location helps
Okay.
families as well, right? Because we're all working. And so
Yeah.
the idea is that it gives a little bit of peace to it. All of these details can be found at skillsdevelopment.ca.
Okay.
And so with an S,
Yeah.
skillsdevelopment.ca. On that site, there is an apply now button. And what it is an expression of interest. So the family or the individual, which we've gone a lot from individuals directly,
Yeah.
they would populate the information. The next step is a meet and greet interview, or kind of
Hmm.
put a name and a face, as we like
Get
to
to know
call
you
it.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, right.
On both sides, and yeah.
Just almost like what we're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from there, then there's just a student profile that they have to complete, and off they go.
Great.
There
And
we
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say off they go.
Okay, good. So is there a deadline to apply or?
We're looking at for so we are still allowing for individuals to come into this first
Oh, okay,
session
good. You've
here.
still got some capacity. So if people are
Yeah,
keen, they can join in.
we're closing that off at the end of October.
Okay.
In
Oh, that's
fairness
soon.
to,
That's soon.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But the classes in January, we will run kind of applications and that process. We're near capacity there. So, I mean, we are accepting, but there are limited spots, and that will be until the end of November.
Okay. Fantastic. Now you really happy that you've sort of taken this on. It's an ambitious project. You've taken on the foundation and you've taken on this developing this program that is really sort of fitting a niche or seeing if there's a niche to be fit. So I hope that goes well. It sounds like you're off to a great start. You have also got a day planned at Queen's Park. Do you want to talk about that? And it's been a while since we chatted, so I don't know if it's happened or it's about to.
It literally happened this week.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's okay.
Good, good.
So the start of the fall session down at
Yep.
Queen's Park, we were invited to go down and enjoy the gallery
Hmm.
and meet with Minister Piccini, who's the Minister of Labor and
Yeah.
part of kind of the partner that's helping us launch this program.
Yeah.
And so for the students, the trainees, and their parents who were able to come down, we all jumped on the same bus.
Good.
And it was the first time for any of them to be down at Queen's Park,
Okay.
first off, but secondly, to be actually inside and then see all of the hustle and bustle and the different, as the one student put it, he's a celebrity. That minister's a
He's on
celebrity.
TV all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it
So
was a
you were in
wonderful,
for question period and sat in the galleries and listened to
yeah,
the questions back and forth,
we
forth.
were acknowledged as well from the
Oh,
minister
nice.
of participating and being there as his guests. And
Great.
then the circumstances worked out well. We got to meet the premier in
Oh,
passing.
wow. Great.
We got to meet the Minister of Energy, Stephen
Hmm.
Lecce, the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra,
Oh,
and then obviously a photo shoot with Minister David Piccini. And
great.
we're all had our vests on. We were like, it was all a really
Oh,
good,
vests like construction vests. You
of
went down
course.
ready to show.
Oh,
Excellent. Now
yeah.
the picture that everybody, the iconic one that everybody gets is on the stairs. Was that where did you get a picture there with your group or did that work
We
out?
we didn't. It was again being the first day back for session.
Yeah.
It was just not safe as well for the trainees, and
Okay.
so the decision was made to do it in his office.
Oh, well, that's not bad either.
Yeah,
And you've got a reason to go back next year with
absolutely.
more graduates and more participants and take the picture then.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's
Yeah,
definitely the
excellent.
idea.
So, anything else you want to talk to us about around this? It's an exciting, ambitious project. And again, you talked about a background in business and what motivates you and brings you here, but really impressive. Great to see you applying your skills and your energies towards something that will benefit your son, but so many others. And also in an area that people sometimes don't think about or often don't think about around employment and where there's going to be a need. I mean, we talk a lot about the need for housing in the province and across the country, and big projects that are going to be happening, and to sort of shift the move away from there's a lot of opportunity in hospitality and that, but to go into a different area where also there's a need. Congratulations, great work.
It thank you. I mean it boils around options, right?
Hmm.
And I think as individuals ourselves, we have options of what job we want to do versus what someone's telling us to do.
Right.
And so this, we've always been for me as well, but I want to say the foundations piece has been around empowering the individual, empowering them to what they want and what they
Hmm.
need and why they want it. And so by giving these different options, there's great work being done out there. Again, I
Yep.
want to give kudos to all of the organizations.
Yeah.
It is, I mean, my son's a product of a lot of those projects and a lot of those initiatives.
It's
And
one. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and we continue to even promote those services through our Help 321 line.
Yeah.
So it's,
What
the
the
collaboration and the inclusiveness is
that is
really
one of the
important.
nice things about the not-for-profit sector, and our sector as well, developmental services, that there's a lot of people doing great things, but working together to make sure that we're all succeeding and all can helping each other out where we can. Sorry, you mentioned your helpline, and we hadn't talked about that before. Do you want to give a 30-second
Sure.
pitch on that?
Yeah, sure. So families, regardless of their child's abilities,
Yeah.
can search help321.ca,
Hmm.
and it is a database that has been vetted and certified of community-based organizations that can support whichever the categories that they're looking for. So I'm
Yeah.
just going to look at my little list here of items that come into play. So whether it's, developmental disability support
Yeah.
programs, physicians, transportation, they can find it very easily, and that it has been vetted. So it's not your typical Google
It's not
search and
just a
nothing
bunch
you
of
get.
advertisements and stuff like that. You've
Correct.
actually done that
So
work. So
they
it's help321.ca.
.ca. Yeah,
Great.
they can.
We'll put that in the notes as well
Oh,
for
I
this.
appreciate that.
This is
Families
good.
can. Oh, I was just going to say, sorry,
Yeah.
one last thing.
Yeah, of
Families can
course.
also find that function on our app. So we have one of the first of its kinds in
Okay.
Canada, a Down syndrome app that brings a number of resources, including this. So they can find it on both Play stores, and it's simple. Down syndrome CA.
Great. Downsyndrome.ca.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, good luck with the program in progress, and then with the second cohort. Would love to have you back, maybe next year at some point, and to sort of see how things are going, and learn about the results that you're experiencing from the work that you're doing. Really impressive. Thanks for taking the time to chat today.
No problem. Well, I'll get you a shirt as
Oh,
well along the way.
it
But
wasn't a
yes.
shameless pitch for me to get a shirt, but I did
Oh,
like
no,
this.
it's all good. But yeah, no, thank you very much for the time today. This has been great.
Thanks, Dominic. Take care. Thank you for listening, watching, and sharing. We release a new episode of Community Chats on the 15th and the 30th of each month, so don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date.